You probably believe that politicians today are worse than ever. Maybe you think they're more corrupt, more incompetent, more self-centered, more disconnected from ordinary people, or simply more disappointing. And it's easy to understand why. Every day you're exposed to headlines, scandals, leaks, videos, memes, investigations, tweets, accusations, hot takes, debates, and endless commentary. It looks like politics has turned into a circus. It feels like leadership quality collapsed. And the common narrative sounds pretty straightforward. The past had great leaders, the present has clowns. But that conclusion, while popular, is misleading. The idea that politicians used to be noble heroes and today they are hopeless failures is not a historical fact. It's a psychological illusion. And in this video, we're going to break down exactly why. Let's start by acknowledging something simple. When people compare leaders from the past with leaders from the present, they're not comparing reality to reality. They're comparing carefully curated legends to unfiltered daily footage. They compare the myth of Abraham Lincoln, not the man. They compare the polished biography of Franklin Roosevelt, not the private frustrations, political deals, or controversial decisions. The past was edited. The present is live-streamed. You cannot win against nostalgia, especially when nostalgia has an editor, and the present has a zoom lens camera with no mercy and no delay. Leaders back then were not pure, enlightened, morally superior figures operating above personal interests. Many of them were as ambitious, strategic, manipulative, flawed, and controversial as modern politicians. The difference is that the system and the technology of the time protected their image in ways impossible today. Think about it. The founding fathers of the United States are often portrayed as wise, united, philosophical statesmen whose only objective was to build a perfect nation. But the truth is that they were constantly disagreeing, negotiating, competing, criticizing each other, and defending personal beliefs and interests. Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton didn't even pretend to like each other. They attacked each other in newspapers, sometimes anonymously. John Adams approved the Alien and Sedition Acts, basically criminalizing political opposition, something that would be considered authoritarian today. And Benjamin Franklin, admired worldwide for his intelligence and diplomacy, openly enjoyed fame, attention, and personal pleasure. Move forward in time, and the same pattern continues. Andrew Jackson was celebrated as a tough, direct, people-oriented leader, while simultaneously responsible for violent policies against Native American populations. Ulysses S. Grant, victorious Civil War general and president, was respected, but his administration was surrounded by multiple corruption scandals involving people close to him. Warren Harding's presidency is remembered as one of the most scandal-ridden eras in American political history, including the Teapot Dome affair. John F. Kennedy, globally remembered as a symbol of optimism, progress, and inspiration, was also involved in several personal scandals and political strategies that only became public many years later, long after his death, long after his image had been sculpted into legend instead of reality. So, if politicians back then were also flawed, why do they seem better? The answer is not moral decline. It's information inflation. Imagine if every conversation Abraham Lincoln ever had, every disagreement during cabinet meetings, every frustrated comment about war decisions, every personal vulnerability, every health problem, and every rumor about his marriage were broadcast instantly on Twitter. The legend would not exist. The only difference is that today's leaders live under constant surveillance and permanent public evaluation. The modern political environment did not produce worse leaders. It produced leaders living under unprecedented transparency. When leadership is performed in an arena where millions of spectators can comment in real time, perfection becomes impossible, and perception becomes the true battlefield. Another major factor is that today information reaches not only voters, but emotions. Algorithms don't show what is balanced, they show what spreads. In the modern media ecosystem, political exposure is no longer institutional. It is personal, emotional, and continuous. When something goes wrong, you don't hear it next month in a newspaper. You hear it within 20 seconds through push notification. But let's go deeper. Instead of focusing on perception, let's examine performance. Modern politicians face challenges that historical leaders never encountered. Today, leaders govern in a world with globalized markets, 24-hour news cycles, real-time geopolitical tensions, nuclear risk, cyber warfare, economic interdependence, demographic complexity, and multicultural debates. They must speak carefully, negotiate constantly, follow legal frameworks, handle scientific and technological decisions, acknowledge social demands, and manage public opinion instantly. It is easier to admire the calm decisiveness of a leader who did not have to govern in a digital ecosystem of permanent accountability. Some people argue that modern politicians seem more divisive and less inspiring, but division existed long before modern media. The Civil War did not emerge from calm political unity. The American Revolution was not a harmonious dinner table discussion. The Civil Rights Movement did not emerge in a peaceful consensus environment. Political conflict is not a modern invention. It is a fundamental element of democracy. The difference is that today conflict is visible. In the past, large portions of society had no voice, no representation, and no platforms. Silence does not mean unity. Visibility does not mean deterioration. Modern politics might feel more chaotic, not because it is worse, but because more people are participating. More voices mean more disagreement. More disagreement means more noise. The most peaceful political moments in history often happened when fewer people were allowed to express opinions. Harmony is suspicious when participation is limited. Let's also consider corruption. Many assume corruption is now more common, but historically corruption was not rare. It was simply harder to detect, harder to expose, and less likely to be punished. Political office once functioned as a direct platform for private wealth accumulation, territorial advantage, family benefit, and patronage networks. Today there are ethics committees, investigative journalism, data leaks, public watchdog organizations, transparency NGOs, global standards, and constant public monitoring. Modern corruption seems larger because you see it faster, not necessarily because it is more frequent. Now, let's examine leadership style. Past leaders are remembered primarily through written text, black and white photographs, formal speeches, and ceremonial recordings. Their personalities were filtered through formality. Today, leaders are recorded in casual environments, airports, conferences, interviews, podcasts, late-night shows, social platforms, live streams, and off-script moments. The past created monuments. The present records moments, and moments will always feel less grand than monuments. Another important psychological factor is the halo effect. When a historical leader is associated with a major national achievement, winning a war, signing a major law, leading economic growth, or guiding a symbolic transformation, the public memory automatically elevates their moral image. Achievements create admiration, and admiration hides flaws. But modern leaders are often evaluated before achievements are finalized. Historical judgment is slow. Modern judgment is instantaneous. So, if political quality did not necessarily decline, what changed? 3 core pillars. First, expectations increased. Modern society demands equality, transparency, representation, economic growth, climate responsibility, and digital ethics all at once. Past leaders dealt with fewer simultaneous challenges and lower social expectations. Second, leadership visibility expanded. every modern leader lives inside a digital microscope. The image of authority became less sacred, and less sacred authority appears weaker even when it is not less capable. Third, narrative framing evolved. The past was written to inspire. The present is recorded to analyze. To conclude, the belief that politicians from the past were inherently superior is a refined illusion. It is not supported by historical evidence, psychological consistency, or institutional logic. Modern politics is not collapsing. It is transforming. Leaders did not decline. They became more transparent. Leadership did not weaken. Reputation management became harder. The quality is not necessarily worse. The accountability is stronger. History didn't give us better leaders. History gave us better myths. The present gives us something harder, but much more valuable, the unedited version.